Hi gang, this is David here from the bunker again, and I just wanted to give a quick introduction to... Hello Piggy, hello. It's Piglet. Anyway, don't worry, I didn't drop you, I put you down gently. Yeah, I get so digressed. Is that a thing? A word? Digressed? I digress. Anywho, thank you so much for watching these videos. We're on to part 4. I can't believe this is taking me so long, but it's really fun. I wanted to do this introduction because, you know, a lot of the things that I say in the videos, I do actually script it, but I wanted to have like a little sort of genuine interaction to start each video, and I wanted to be very careful not to kind of play a character or anything, which is why these intros and outros are a bit kind of all over the place. I want to make a rule of not editing these, so it's just Dave. So this is creeping up to a minute, so that's my rule, is that these shouldn't be more than a minute. So guys, here's part 4. I hope you enjoy it.
Look up there! That's not possible! I've seen that guy somewhere. On TV.
Next up is a rather obscure character. You've probably never heard of him before. Wade Wilson? Yeah, of course. The Merc with the Mouth, Deadpool. Yeah, we all know and love Deadpool. The character has been establishing a stranglehold on Marvel's main event scene over the last few years, and it's a miracle that I only have one figure of him, considering how many there are out there. The thing about Deadpool, though, for me, is that I really can't abide wackiness for the sake of wackiness. You know, if a joke is funny or absurd or well crafted, I appreciate that. But if it's just a wacky thing for no reason, then that's not comedy. That's just a guy dropping his pants. And Deadpool as a character can swing wildly between these extremes depending on who's writing him. With a lot of Deadpool's humour, it's the similar feeling I had when I first watched The Mighty Boosh. At first glance, I thought, this is just dumb for the sake of dumb, and it did nothing for me. And it was only after looking closely that I could appreciate the art behind the absurdist humour, and now I love The Mighty Boosh. Anyway, sometimes Deadpool succeeds at this, and sometimes it fails miserably. For every excellent and satirical story on the fragile stability of a fractured mind, there's one about Deadpool dropping his pants, and an action figure to go with it, because wacky equals comedy, apparently. Wow, I'm really getting on a soapbox here, aren't I? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, action figures. So, I chose this Deadpool here, who is from the Juggernaut wave. Ah yes, the much sought after and ludicrously hard to obtain Juggernaut wave, featuring the Grail upon Grails, my white whale, known as Rogue. I curse myself for not getting into collecting Legends sooner and snapping her up when I had the chance. The Rogue not taken. Get it? Like road? I'm wasted here. Anyway, I chose this figure because he strikes me as having the most kind of realistic and detailed sculpt out there, and with this guy, it's all about the accessories. He has everything. First and foremost, this guy has the brown straps and pouches, kind of like the Walgreens Punisher that I really wanted. And this really adds to the depth and texture of the figure. They give him more layers and make the gear feel more sort of real and practical and lived in. And of course, with all those 90s pockets and pouches comes accessories, and this guy has them by the boatload. He's got handguns, a grenade launcher, a giant Liefeld looking laser gun, 2 swords, a rocket launcher with a boxing glove which veers a little too much into wacky territory for my liking, and even a taco. Not to mention the spare unmasked head, which overall sets this figure as one of the best to beat when it comes to getting your money's worth from accessories. This is what I compare all my figures to when I see what I'm getting for my money, and usually I come away feeling pretty salty. One gripe I do have about the figure is the sculpt of the arms and the elbows. He's got these lovely weapons, but I find it difficult to actually find good poses for him. The elbow joints feel rather bizarrely angled and kind of flimsy, so I'm afraid to really manipulate them in any way that's going to cause undue stress. So with that in mind, I'll place him in a rather stoic, un-Deadpool-like pose right over here, bringing us one step closer to uniting those thunderbolts. I really enjoyed that little Thunderbolts run. There was actually an amusing subplot where Daredevil had a crush on Elektra and attempted to murder the Punisher as he was jealous of the attention that she showed him and the romance that was brewing between the two of them. That was just the right side of wacky, and it helped that Frank acted as the perfect straight man to Deadpool to play off of, actually voicing all these sort of unimpressed, nonplussed reactions that I'm sure readers like myself were having to the character. Next up, we have a 2-for-1 combo as I bring out Cloak and Dagger. Now, these guys absolutely and unequivocally owe their place in my collection to the good fortune of being involved in the literary masterpiece that is Maximum Carnage. I remember when I first saw these two show up in the story, I was like, who are these guys? And now, nearly 30 years later, I bring them out here and I'm like, who are these guys? Honestly, I'm really not sure. I think they're mutants. Dagger has light-based powers and Cloak can teleport or has like a dark dimension in his cloak or something. I don't know. I guess I could have wikied it, but what are you going to do? I'm a busy man. What I do know, though, is that they debuted in a Spider-Man book. They're his allies. They fight people on the street, so they are Spider-Man's street-level allies. So these two, I don't have a lot to say about. However, they do make an interesting addition as they are quite unique in that they are very much a two-piece combo. The figures themselves are basic enough, nothing awful but nothing special, both of them sadly lacking in the accessory department, but in fairness, I don't think there's much you could really pair them with. Cloak has a massive cloak, they've ticked that box, and the cloak itself is actually rather nicely made, with partially translucent strips in it that add an extra dimension, so I'll happily throw in some extra points for that. And Dagger has her dagger things. And in fairness to them, the arc that the daggers are attached to in order to simulate them being thrown is actually identical to how it's occasionally depicted in the comics. So you have to give the sculptor props for that. With the pose, though, it's quite fun to recreate their comic powers. You can position Dagger so that it looks as though she's emerging from a portal inside the cloak. That can look really effective, although you have to be careful how you position her hand, otherwise it kind of looks like she's giving him like a rub and squeezy while they wait for the bus. And actually, as I place that there, I've got to say, that looks really effective, with Dagger kind of disappearing into the darkness of the cloak. Okay, after giving out about these figures, they're actually kind of cool. I'm winning myself over as I look at these. I like these guys. That's a dynamic-looking pair. So, speaking of Spider-Man's Maximum Carnage Survivor Series teammates, it's time to bring out Danny Rand, the Iron Fist. This is another figure that I wasn't initially planning on getting. Remember the days when you didn't just buy every figure that came out because the mad collector in you hadn't taken over yet? Thank goodness I can say that I don't collect MCU figures as well, because there's only so much money in the world that I can fritter away and I need to eat. So thanks for that. Well, this figure came out during that halcyon time when I could pick and choose what comic book figures I wanted. However, building Maximum Carnage meant that Iron Fist was a must. This costume is the closest representation to what he wore in the arc, and I like that it's been updated just enough to go with some of the more contemporary designs. There are a few different Iron Fists out there. There's one with a white costume, which I think looks particularly snazzy, but I like to go with the storyline accuracy. So as for the figure, he looks lovely. He's got this nice flowing sash details going on here, and the bright yellow really just pops off the character. Sadly, he doesn't come with an extra head like a maskless Danny Rand head. However, I'm willing to forgive that because he does come with these interchangeable hands which have the wraps over the fists and the awesome translucent fire effects. The wraps themselves look great, I think. That's why I wanted to keep one of his hands in its normal state to show off the grimy look and the texture to all this. The wraps really look weathered and like they've been used to repeatedly tee off on some poor guy's face. I don't actually have anything else to add to this. I just think Bottom is hilarious and I could watch Rick Mail punch people all day. It's the simple things in life. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to be a little bit sneaky and I'm going to see if I can perch Iron Fist on Red Hulk's stand. This way we can elevate him a little bit, and again we get that nice tiered effect. Now what I'm not doing is resting him against Red Hulk, because that's cheating. That's not how you build a display. That's Bush League. So he has to be standing on his own right, and there he goes. You know what? I think that looks pretty good. And I'll just fix Red Hulk's arm there, so it's not so high that it looks like he's waving and not so low that it looks like he's cradling Iron Fist in a loving embrace. And we are good. Speaking of different levels, I'm going to drop things right down now as we bring in a fellow martial arts master, Shang-Chi. Now, you'll see a pattern developing here as I tell you that Shang-Chi was also a purchase made in the pursuit of maximum carnage. But in this instance, it was for the Build-A-Figure piece in order to create the spectacular-looking Hobgoblin. You know, people complained that the Goblin was a little bit small for a Build-A-Figure, but I have no problem with him because he just looks suitably wicked. I love the face sculpt, but that's a review for another time. I digress. Now, why is Shang-Chi kneeling? Well, I can tell you that for a world-class martial artist, this guy can barely stand on his own 2 feet. No matter how I position him, he is perpetually wibbling and wobbling around, so instead I thought that to make my life easier and give this display a nice multi-level effect, he can be in a kneeling stance, ready to spring into action. Now, I don't like having characters just sat down for no reason. It looks weird, like they're at a picnic or something. It's really unnatural. But with Shang-Chi's martial arts gimmick, this pose makes perfect sense for the character. It's like he's ready to spring up into action and just start wrecking shop all around him. Of course, as everyone knows with this figure, they really went overboard with the spare hands. Shang-Chi has a hand for just about every occasion. He could do sign language. He could be the little guy in the corner of the TV screen with the number of different hand positions he has. He is the decoy octopus of Marvel Legends. It's as if someone at Hasbro realised they had a whole warehouse full of hands and thought, oh, that's where we put all those hands. No, we sent out all those figures with no interchangeable hands. It really annoyed Dave. But this was where they were the whole time. Let's just bung them all in with Shang-Chi. So all the hands, along with his nunchaku, make for a surprisingly fun figure, who I'm going to place just kneeling in front of Deadpool, and that is good.
Alright guys, I'm going to stop this one here because I want to try and keep these two like tight 10 minutes and then I can release them nice and frequently. Also, YouTube takes forever to upload these videos, so you know, I'm so impatient that if it's more than 10 minutes it starts to take more than 2 hours and I'm like, come on, I need the dopamine hit of I need the likes. It's yeah, this is what I look forward to in life now. This is what happens when you're in lockdown and your girlfriend lives in Brooklyn and you're not getting any closer because she is moving countries to Hong Kong. So, yeah, thank goodness I have you guys because if it wasn't, I think I might go quite peculiar. So, thanks for watching. I love making these videos and stay tuned for part 5. And I love you. I can't believe I'm never going to do that again.